Welcome to LUTN's Political Forum. I'm your political correspondent, Maggie Huggins, and today we're at the Will County Senior Center. We're going to go around and introduce you to our participants today.
Carla.
Would you like to start?
Carla Wasteloo.
Stephen Paddock.
Mary Lou Carlson.
Caroline Reed.
Jackie Countryman.
And today we're at the Will County Senior Center. So have you ever seen an election with two candidates that are so unpopular before? This is the first one.
No,
No, this is the first.
it's a first.
Well, has there ever been this much mudslinging in an election before?
I don't believe there has. They don't care about it, what we want, or anybody in the United States. Young people count, you know, but they don't care about that. They're both got what they got.
I did, I did have some readings on that. And actually, if you go back into history, Quincy and Adams and Zachary Taylor, they were equally vicious. And
Right.
I know that someone called someone's mother, I believe, a prostitute. Someone was accused of getting girls for the czar.
I have, in the 1800s, there was serious stuff going on between John Adams and Andrew Jackson. As you said, Jackson supporters accused Adams of having extramarital affairs, and Jackson's newspaper called Adams a pimp. Meanwhile, Adams accused Jackson's mother of being a whore.
Oh my.
I mean,
that's pretty bad.
I never learned that in history class.
we didn't know the word back then.
Well, I was amazed when I went to the Abraham Lincoln, or the library down in Springfield. Have you been there?
Yes.
And seeing the ads that were taken out when Lincoln was running for president. And I'm like, wait, this is the president that we all love and adore. And the ads were just vicious. I almost started crying because I thought, how could they be so mean to Lincoln? But that was the day and that was the time. And I think that was the first time I thought, wow, politics really is a dirty issue, dirty problem.
How has this presidential election looked like previous ones? Like, if you were to compare these candidates to others, who would they be and why?
Neither. None.
No one. Why is that?
I couldn't think either.
Why is it?
Yeah.
I don't know why it is. I don't even know why either one of them are running. Tell you the truth.
Well, we've never had candidates like this before. One that's been in the game forever, and then the other one who just got in the game, and it's just a whole different candidate thing. It usually is a senator moving up or governors, and this is just surprise.
They're both have so much baggage, so much against them, that I have a lot of friends who say they aren't voting at all.
That's a very sad comment to hear, but it's true. I think what we haven't seen before is corporate America versus a political participant for probably half of her age. And they're both good in their own environment, but when they come together, they clash, and you notice the differences. I have a question mark on that because I don't know if that has ever happened before.
These two candidates are bashing each other. They're not even interested in what we want.
So how do you think that PACs have influenced this election specifically compared to others?
I didn't even know about PACs until 2010, and it seemed to me like I think I gave to a couple of them. I'm not sure. That's when I first started getting politically inclined, I guess you'd call it. It seems like in the past it's been money from individuals and corporations. Now the PACs, I think, probably maybe have gotten too much power. Not quite sure, but the PACs seem to rule. So
do you think that PACs are more influential now than they were in the past?
I do. The Super PAC actually do get contributions, and they have worked the rules of getting money in. They have actually created nonprofits that do not have to, I believe, disclose their donors. But the super PACs, depending who's running them, if they're a genius at getting down to advertising in the ground roots, some of the advertising you see is not our politicians doing it, it's the super PACs, and it gets dirty, and we are seeing it in this election.
So do you feel like this election is more targeted towards millennial voters and younger voters than it is towards other age groups?
I know that the younger voters have always been important in the recent election, and now in this one. That's a very good point. As Steve said, I don't see talk about things that seniors are interested in going forth. That's a good point.
One thing I think that's changed is the media and how they cover these different topics. How do you think the media has changed in regards to elections?
We were talking about
Yeah,
that.
you're asking mostly conservatives, you know that. Sorry.
Well, the mainstream media, but I think the media. Do you mean media in general? Like now we have Facebook, Instagram,
Right.
Twitter. Before someone even thinks that it's on Twitter, which is really hard to do. But I think we're bombarded constantly, whether you want to be or not. Even the television ads are kind of minuscule compared to Facebook. I mean, my news feed is exploding every moment with all the memes, they call them. But I think it's exaggerated it, and there's so much, what would we call it, legitimate things being thrown out there. A lot of times if I get a Facebook post, I'll check where it came from, because I actually forwarded something once that was it was a sarcastic, don't you know that's a sarcastic website? No, I didn't. So now I'm very careful at what I post, and I think a lot of people just read it, believe it, and go with it.
So how do you think specifically like news agencies have changed?
Well, being a conservative, I have noticed the imbalance in what is reported by about what negative is reported about the Republicans, and how a lot of the stuff about the Democrats, the channels, most channels, TV channels do not report that. So there is, and I think it's a legitimate complaint of the conservatives.
Yeah, I feel that the media wants to cover what might be on the cover of an Inquirer, rather than talking about the candidate's vision and how they address it at their town halls or their meetings. They can make it or break it, but they're not. They're kind of putting us down as Americans and as viewers who do take the election seriously.
Do you think there should be any changes made to how they report stories?
Well, aren't news people supposed to be objective? I mean, that's what you teach in your classes. Whereas, classic example is John Kerry's daughter is a doctor. She married an Iranian doctor, and the best man at the wedding was the minister of their wedding, was the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran. Now, if that isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. But we did not hear, the media did not come forward with that at all, because it was derogatory towards the Democrats. I thought that was a classical example of bias.
So going off that topic, how do you think different celebrity influences have determined elections?
I don't really care who Brad Pitt votes for or any of them. I just don't, it doesn't matter to me.
I think they have.
When a star says I'm voting for somebody.
I believe they do, because I think there's a fan
Oh,
club
there
out
probably
there
is,
for,
yeah.
You know, Brad Pitt or wherever you're talking.
Right.
I think that,
Their fan base will.
right, and they
vote.
say if he's voting for that way, I could vote for that way, you know, whatever. I mean,
That's
I don't
so
do
sad,
I mean,
isn't
I
it?
don't- Yeah, that's right.
Hillary Clinton's got Whoopi Goldberg, Barbara Streisand,
Yeah.
Spike Lee, George Clooney. Trump has, let's see, Ann Coulter, Sarah Palin, Dennis Rodman, that's interesting, John Voight and Mike Tyson.
And Susan Sarandon just jumped on his Trump train,
Oh.
which is unusual because basically I think she's been, more on the liberal leaning. So apparently it doesn't change our votes, but maybe a fan base would go, oh, Tom Selleck's voting for so-and-so, so I'm going to vote for him and get that mortgage thing that he's selling, right?
Well, I think what celebrities do is make a candidate more visible to certain markets.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing because we need every market to engage in the process. The celebrities don't necessarily need to influence, but if they engage their market into the importance of voting and getting involved with why they're voting, that's a good thing. I did read that President Obama, being backed by Bono and Oprah Winfrey, did actually help his war chest, as they say, and did reach a younger market for him.
So obviously we have two dynamic characters running for president this year, and they both have their share of scandals. So how have previous candidates overcome the scandals that they've had to face while running?
Well, Bill Clinton. He certainly whitewashed a lot of what he did, and supposedly it's okay. The fact there was a book by Gary Byrne called Crisis of Character about the White House, and he was a Secret Service agent, and it sounded like the Clinton White House was like Playboy penthouse. Part of his job was to keep Hillary away from Clinton's visitors. And the other part, not only to keep her away, but to make sure that his visitors had access to him. That was, and this kind of soured Gary Byrne.
And to keep the visitors away from each other.
Yes, that too.
That happens.
So, yeah, but
He still is
and
up there.
yeah, and the guy had so much charisma.
Yes.
You'd buy a refrigerator if you were in an Alaska Eskimo from him.
Also Jack Kennedy. I
Yes.
guess Papa Kennedy had to give Jackie Oak, which we call her now, our Mrs. Kennedy, money to stay with Jack because they didn't want her to mess up his political career by divorcing him. That's so yeah, there's a lot of scandals, but they seem to endure based on what they did for our country.
Don't you think that's why Hillary stuck with Bill Clinton?
Oh, she had an agenda.
I mean, she knew what she was going to do
Yeah, she knew.
down the line.
Yeah, I think she had a personal agenda, which I don't fault her for, but I think it's a reality, good, bad, or whatever. I think she had an agenda.
So do you think that those politicians owning what they did and like taking responsibility for it helped them overcome it and get reelected?
Well, I think taking ownership is an adult thing to do and can be influential among certain segments, yes.
And plus, you can be a total womanizer and still be an outstanding president. And the thing is, it's hard to point to your kids and say, look at that wonderful president, when you know.
Yeah, I know. Yes, that.
And then to look at what happened to Nixon, and his was a dastardly deed. I remember we were camping in Springfield when he resigned, and I mean, at first I thought, wow, that's pretty bad. And to look back at what he did, and yes, it was wrong, but to see how far we've come and how much more wrong you can do, it's amazing. I'm sure he's saying, really? I mean, he had to give up the presidency, and that's a big issue.
How have you noticed there's been a difference in elections, or specifically with this election, between, the campaign rallies and social media, and then when it came to actual debates between either the presidential candidates or the vice presidential candidates?
Not a lot.
The only thing, when the people who wanted to have the nominee, there were so many on the Republican side, it didn't really give us a true picture of each person on that stage. There were some excellent politicians there, and also people from corporate America that are very intelligent and probably a lot more politically correct than our Republican candidate. But there were missed opportunities for a good president on the stage that just didn't appeal to the people.
And it seems to me that Donald Trump picks what he's going to be. I think for the primaries and that, he was the entertainer to get people, hey, look at me, see what I can do. And then now he's trying to be presidential. We'll see the next two debates how well that's going to work out for him. But in a way, that's what a businessman does. He sees who's in his surroundings and becomes what they are. If they're having a laughing good time, then he becomes that. If they're being serious, he could become that. I think he's almost like he'll play to the audience. And I really think that, and this is like a real guess on my part, that he can be presidential and he can show the world that America can be respected again. And I'm hoping I'm right. If I'm wrong, don't quote me. But I just think that he was the entertainer, got everybody involved, and now he's off to be presidential.
Has there been a difference that you could tell with the televised debates and then how people change support between candidates?
I have not really. I do know the polls sometimes change a little bit, but I don't think so. Unless you go back to, no, I don't think so, that I've noticed.
Well, it depends on who you're for. They said in this last debate, oh, Hillary won by a lot, and then the Republicans say Trump won the debate. And I don't know how you win or lose a discussion exactly.
Yeah, he talked about that at the last debate about how he has been trying to run a cleaner campaign. Do you think that's helping or hurting him?
Well, Hillary's misdeeds have been in the paper and on TV forever. Benghazi, the media, her personal emails, and the Clinton Foundation is a big thing. And there was a book, Clinton's Cash, which talked about how pay to play, how people who donated, countries who donated big amounts to Clinton Foundation had more access to Hillary.
It's like, who has the biggest scandal sheet? And do we care? Let's get to the issues, the economy, security, all the things that affect me. That's in the past. It's like, I want to know, am I going to have Social Security? Are my investments going to tank because of what Congress is doing? How safe are we? That's what Americans really, I hope the next debate they get on that and just forget that other stuff.
So do you feel like the elections kind of focused more on the scandals rather than actual issues?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All the
It's all in
negatives.
the wow factor.
Yeah.
There are.
What's wow factor about here's how we should change the tax structure, making the military stronger. Those are the things that are boring, but they're what run our country. Anybody else kind of concerned about where we're going? You mentioned the young people before, and the liberals say, oh, we'll give you a free education, and we'll do this and we'll do that, which I would have loved to have gone to college when I was younger, but my parents didn't have the money, wasn't quite smart enough for the scholarships, so I didn't go. But every job I've had, I've been in banking and in government, taken every class that they would give me because I love to learn.
The thing, too, they have to look at, what am I getting now versus what am I truly giving up in future years? And that is a reality check that every voter should be thinking about.
But I never was as a young person. Were you thinking long term?
No.
You're thinking about today.
No.
No.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of seniors look at their investments or no investments and go, I really should have started this at 20. You
Yes.
know, but who's, at
Yes.
20, I just wanted to have a nice outfit to wear for, whatever reason. So who thought about investing?
All right, so that's all the time we have, but thank you so much. Those are great insights on definitely how people are looking at the election and things that are being avoided by the politicians.